here's a burning question that came in, and I like the title of this. Should employers flush their restroom policy? So you can guess where this one is going. So President Trump's executive order mandates restroom use based on biological sex, conflicting with past OSHA guidance, allowing employees to use restrooms matching their gender identity. With OSHA's guidance now removed, and apparently I think they removed their guidance from the website very, very quickly. Should employers handle restroom policies for employees currently in transition? It's a good question, right? This is what's happening because we went so far one way with policies and practices, and now that pendulum, as you would always say, has swung back, and now it's kind of all right, which way do I move? Employers are trying to figure it out. So you got any thoughts on this one?
Yeah, and this is gonna segue into one of my lawyer on the clock stories that I think I'll just talk about right now with respect to the burning question that was raised. And I think right now it's still kind of employer policy, what the employer wants to do. Whether a private employer wants to allow what's called gender inclusivity in their restrooms or not. There's also still state law to contend with. I think clearly when we're dealing at the federal level right now, gender inclusivity is definitely on the way out. And so it's really probably up to the employer right now, whether the employer wants to subject itself to possible claims by employees one way or the other, that by having gender inclusivity, it possibly discriminates or could constitute a form of harassment to people who, for instance, women who have biological women who now have biological men in their restrooms. Could that create a problem? Or vice versa, if you exclude biological men from biological women's restrooms, could that biological man bring a claim? And so I think right now at the federal level, that's definitely on the way out. Keep in mind state law that still exists, and I think right now it does come down to a matter of policy. The story that I was going to wrap up Lawyer in the Clock with is Meta. We all know Meta. It's Facebook, Mark Zuckerberg's company, and with his I say, slight shift to the right, his attendance at inauguration with President Trump.
And you talk about a guy that flip-flopped like immediately. I'm like, come on.
You
Yeah.
are not kidding. So in January, they're saying overhauled a variety of Meta's internal and external policies. We all know that he quote unquote restored free expression across his platform and changed the platform's hateful conduct policy to allow criticism of gender identity. One of the moves that he also made was the removal of women's sanitary products from men's bathrooms. And the company had previously provided non-binary and transgender employees female hygiene products in the men's bathrooms. And so there is a small group of employees at Meta who have decided to quietly protest Zuckerberg's actions, and they have been bringing in their own tampons, pads, and liners into the men's bathrooms. They also have circulated a petition to save the tampons in the men's bathrooms. So in response to that, Meta issued a letter saying that it had not been the intention of Meta leadership to make employees feel unwelcome or excluded in our offices, but at this point we do not have any plans to revisit our on-site amenities offerings. But the email did promise to share the feedback with leadership. So this is known as a quiet rebellion in Silicon Valley, and just kind of an interesting case that's, I think, really a sign of the times out there, and works well with that burning question, Phil.
Yeah, no, it does. It's a good compliment. And I think, if you're in business here, and most of our people are in HR or CEOs that are listening to the plan or this program. And I mean, it is a little bit of a catch-22 in some scenarios in the risk profile that you might take on, because one side or the other might put up a struggle that could end up costing you money. And I think the best advice you can get in that scenario from ourselves is you got to enter into a personal conversation with us if you feel like your risk profile is up, so that we consider all the factors of, how long have you been practicing this? What state are you in? What's your workforce demographic look like? And what kind of risk there's all kinds of questions I think I would come up with to help somebody make a very specific decision for their workplace versus just a swooping decision that may or may not be the best risk profile decision for every employer, considering what and where they're at and how long they've been doing things.
Yeah, and I have a personal opinion on this issue, but
I'm surprised to hear that.
From a legal advice standpoint, I think that as with anything in this area of the law, and given the new administration, as we've always encouraged employers to do, tread carefully through this. And again, I think right now, my suggestion is that you deal with it as a matter of policy within the company. I don't think that having gender inclusive restrooms in a company, in a private company, is illegal. And so it really is a matter of policy at this point. But I think you can see where the trend is headed these days, and that there has been a sharp backlash. I think anytime things go too far in one direction, eventually you can expect a opposite and equal or sometimes unequal reaction in the other direction.
Yeah, and just to remind everyone, because Bert, the numbers are growing. I got a chance to look at those again for the show. It's amazing. You're becoming a little bit of a star here across the country with our viewership. But just to remind our new viewers that are always joining us, our position is going to be in the position in the eyes of the employer, right? So we both work for the employers. We want to be fair and balanced with the interpretation of the law and helping them manage their risk profiles. And that's where we're coming from on any of these topics that sometimes might feel quite personal in expression. It's really from the position of the employer and the interpretation of the law that we're trying to look at it.
Thanks for being an on-demand viewer of This Week at Work. Don't forget, you can be part of the show by watching live at 7:30 a.m. Central every Thursday morning, when you can get your burning questions answered by using the question mark icon to the right of the player. In fact, you can ask a question now. Head over to aimea.org. Under Member Resources, you'll find This Week at Work. Click Listen Live to register for our next episode and submit a question. Or follow or subscribe wherever you get your news and entertainment. We'll see you next week when we discuss what's happening this week at work.